November 30th, 2022, around 11 a.m., the emergency services received a distressing call from a concerned individual who had been unable to contact the Kislyak family. The caller requested that the police check on their home in the Buffalo Grove area. Officers immediately responded to the address provided. However, no one answered the calls or knocks on the door. The police then began to inspect the area around the house and look through the windows. What they saw inside deeply shocked them, leading to the decision to force the door open. Upon entering, the officers discovered the bodies of 5 individuals who had lived in the house. 36-year-old Vera Kislyak, her 2 daughters Vivian and Amelia, 60-year-old grandmother Lilia, and the family dog. The body of the family head, 39-year-old Andriy, was found last in the far part of the premises. Criminalists began examining the crime scene. The bodies were located in various parts of the house, with none of them found in their beds, indicating that they were aware of the horrors taking place. There were no signs of forced entry or intrusion by outsiders, which led detectives to lean towards the theory that one of the deceased was responsible for the family's murder. After carefully inspecting the entire house, the police concluded that the crime had been committed by the man, as a knife was found near his body. Thus, Andriy had killed his wife, children, and mother, and then took his own life. The family's death was horrific. All family members fell victim to a brutal murder. The officers who examined the crime scene admitted they had witnessed the most terrifying scene of their lives, and the image would remain in their memories like a frame from a horror film. The tragedy shocked the public. Neighbors couldn't believe that such a thing had happened to a family that seemed loving, friendly, and happy. Everyone wondered how a loving father, the head of the family, could so coldly murder his family. What could have driven him to such a bloody massacre? Vera and Andriy Kislyak met on a blind date in Belarus, arranged by mutual friends. Andriy fell in love with a beautiful blonde Vera, who captured his heart. On their second date, he proposed to her, and by the 6th date, they were married in 2013. Andriy worked as a tennis coach back home in Belarus, earning a decent income. He dreamed of a life in the United States and wholeheartedly aspired to achieve this goal. It was decided that Andriy would go there alone at first, settle down, and prepare conditions for his wife's move. However, upon arriving in the U.S. almost immediately after the wedding, he faced harsh reality. Andriy was unable to find work as a coach, and there was no turning back. The man had to take on other work, becoming a car repairman, as it was his hobby. He had a goal to bring his beloved wife to the U.S. and provide her with a better life. So he didn't give up despite the difficulties. Andriy took on another job in the same field and picked up various side jobs. He worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs, allowing him to save money for a down payment on the house of his dreams. In 2016, Andriy purchased a luxurious 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom home with a pool, securing a mortgage in a lovely, cozy neighborhood. This small town of Buffalo Grove, located in Illinois near Chicago, had a population of around 40,000. It featured beautiful homes, friendly neighbors, a low crime rate, and plenty of greenery and parks. It was an ideal place for a quiet, peaceful family life and raising children. Soon, Andriy obtained citizenship, and in 2018, having saved even more money, he finally brought his wife from Minsk. The couple had 2 daughters in the U.S., 6-year-old Vivian and 4-year-old Amelia. The girls loved to dress up nicely, and their mother dressed them in princess dresses and unicorn costumes during outdoor playtime. Neighbors described Vera as an incredibly loving mother who cared for her daughters. Not long before the tragedy, in October 2022, Andriy's 60-year-old mother Lilia moved in with them. Neighbors admired their beautiful home, happy couple, and wonderful daughters. They considered this family to be perfect, but few knew what was happening behind the closed doors of their large house. After the children were born, the family began to face serious financial difficulties. Andriy, when purchasing a luxurious home for over $1 million, did not take his financial capabilities into account. While he worked, Vera stayed at home taking care of the children, and the family's expenses significantly increased. They were catastrophically short on funds, barely able to cover their monthly mortgage payments, let alone utility bills, food, clothing, and transportation. They had to live under strict economic constraints. Since the beginning of 2020, they had stopped making timely mortgage payments, which led to serious problems with the bank. Soon, the bank intended to foreclose on their home due to unpaid debts, which became the cause of frequent arguments between the couple. In July 2022, Andrei filed for divorce, to which Vera responded with a counterclaim. The divorce proceedings began, during which, from August to October, Vera called the police 10 times with complaints of violence from her husband. 3 times, Andrei himself called 911, including for help to get into the house or asking the police to remove his wife's friend. At the beginning of September, Andrei took the keys to the family BMW, preventing Vera from driving their eldest daughter. Vera received 1 set of keys, but they turned out to be broken, which she reported in court. The judge eventually ordered the return of the car to Vera and prohibited Andrei from using it. Not long after, Andrei, while under the influence of alcohol, was seen at a bar with his daughters. His behavior shocked those around him. He left the children alone at a table and engaged aggressively with other patrons. One woman, concerned about the situation, approached the children to inquire about their well-being. The children were frightened and did not want to go home because they were afraid of their father. Unlike the tense atmosphere at home, they felt safe in the bar. Other patrons, worried about the situation, called the police to intervene. When the authorities arrived, Andrei turned to his daughters upon seeing them. The officers asked what had happened, but scared of their father, the children assured them that everything was fine. As a result, the police let them go home. A few days later, in the evening while putting the children to bed, a conflict arose when the daughters laid down in the parents' bed. Under the threat of physical violence, Andrei ordered them to go to their own rooms. When the girls refused, he hit one of them. Vera defended the children and received a blow from her husband. After that, she called the police. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with Andrei and asked him to leave the house. He left, finding temporary housing, and began threatening everyone with a lawyer. The next day, Vera called 911 to report the disappearance of her BMW, which had gone missing overnight. The operator asked if she wanted to report it as stolen, but Vera only requested to track the vehicle, suspecting her husband, who had a spare key. She had seen Andrei walking around the house in the car at night, but had not let him inside. Through her lawyer, Vera tried to contact her husband to find out about the missing vehicle, but he categorically denied taking it. The further development of the situation regarding the car remained unknown. For days later, Vera called the police again, reporting that her husband had broken into their home, and she felt afraid. When the dispatcher asked if her husband had a weapon and whether he posed a threat to her safety, Vera replied that there was a weapon, but she believed Andrei was not dangerous. She naively hoped he was just trying to scare her. The police arrived and removed Andrei from the house. On September 11th, he called the police himself, complaining about his wife's friend, who had come over and demanded that she leave. Apparently, Andrei was closely monitoring his wife and the situation at home. Tired of her husband's antics, Vera sought a restraining order from the court. She claimed that Andrei was using drugs and bringing home promiscuous women, all of which occurred in front of the children. Vera also recounted that her husband had threatened to cut off her head and send it to her family in Belarus. At the same time, a picture of a gun had been taped to her grandmother's door in Belarus, which greatly frightened her. Vera suspected that Andrei might have asked some acquaintances to pull such a prank, but the situation looked extremely alarming. The court granted her request and issued a restraining order on September 14, 2022, prohibiting Andrei from coming near his wife and children. This decision enraged Andrei, but the restraining order did not stop him from continuing to terrorize the family. Andrei also filed for a restraining order against Vera, explaining his need for it due to his resentment towards her. He claimed that he had worked multiple jobs for 10 years while Vera had not worked and only used him for his money. Andrei even concocted a story that his wife had come to the US 10 years ago on a fiancé visa but had never married an American. This information was verified and disproven. Vera arrived in the US 4 years ago as his wife and had no intention of marrying a foreigner. The judge, shocked by Andrei's behavior, could not understand why he would make up such things. On September 30th, When Andrei again violated the court order and came home, Vera called the police once more, and he was arrested. It turned out that he already had a long history of legal issues. Several cafe and bar owners had complained about his aggressive behavior and had banned him from entering their establishments. Taxi drivers also reported that Andrei refused to pay for rides when he was without a car. In addition, several women had filed complaints against him for abuse. All of this happened in the US before and after Vera's arrival. Thus, it became apparent that despite having a wife, Andrei was cheating on her. However, just 16 days after his arrest, he was released on a $10,000 bail. Once free, Andrei began to behave even more aggressively, posting photos of graves on his social media pages. Meanwhile, Vera was trying to rebuild her life. She found a job to support herself and the children, striving to be independent of her husband. She drove the children to preschool and school while going to work herself. The divorce process was ongoing. Andrei showed no respect in court, interrupting other participants, being rude to everyone, and even failing to appear at hearings. The judge ordered Andrei to be held accountable for his disrespect towards the court. Given his behavior, all the chances for obtaining custody of the children and property during the divorce were on Vera's side. Andrei realized this, so he continued to show aggression, threatening to kill his wife if she did not return to him. He also promised to disfigure her face so that no one would recognize her. Vera's lawyers demanded that he be imprisoned as he posed a threat to his wife and children, but this did not happen. In October 2022, while out on bail, Andrei decided to invite his mother to the United States, hoping that she could help mend family relations. His mother arrived and moved into their home, where she was shocked by her son's unusual behavior. Despite her concerns, she tried to facilitate a reconciliation between Andrei and Vera. Eventually, these efforts bore positive results. Vera and Andrei reconciled. At the beginning of November, intending to restore their relationship, Vera requested the court to lift the restraining order, and the judge granted her request. It seemed that the situation had stabilized, but on November 22nd, a serious argument erupted between the couple. Vera, trying to document her husband's aggressive behavior, grabbed her phone, but Andrei snatched it from her and smashed it. As a result, the woman called the police. The officers who arrived on the scene advised her to seek a new protective order. Vera agreed, and after a brief conversation, the police stayed to calm the conflict. However, on November 30th, the situation took a sharp turn for the worse. In the morning, Vera did not show up for work, and her colleagues became concerned. At first, they tried to call her, but to no avail. Then, a friend of Vera's, learning of her disappearance, called 911. When law enforcement arrived, they found 5 dead bodies in the house, including a dog. Friends of the family, well acquainted with their situation, spoke of Andrei's dark side. He not only proved to be irresponsible, leading the family into serious debt due to the purchase of property they could not afford, but he also intentionally filed for divorce, hoping that Vera, a stay-at-home mom without a job, would beg him to stay together. He exhibited narcissistic traits, trying to draw attention by any means necessary. Andrei even convinced his friends that Vera had enchanted him through black magic. But this was merely a fabrication. Andrei's plan to make his wife beg for his return backfired. Vera was ready to get a divorce, and she filed a counterclaim. This move caught her husband off guard, as he was unprepared for such a turn of events. His lawyer even refused to cooperate upon learning of his games. Vera's friend, observing the situation, advised her to pack her things and flee, as Andrei was dangerous and unpredictable. Vera considered this, but she faced a problem. She had no money. Andrei controlled all the finances, and she had just started working. She felt isolated in a foreign country, where she barely knew anyone and was unaware of her rights or the existence of shelters for women in her situation. Additionally, it turned out that the day before the tragedy, Andrei learned about the sale of their home to other buyers, and they had been issued an eviction notice. This could have significantly impacted his mental state. The last court hearing regarding the divorce took place just one day before the bodies were discovered. During the investigation, it became clear that Andrei had long since quit his job, merely tormenting his family and monitoring Vera. He had sold off all their valuables, trying to survive on what he had. Investigators believe that he had already made up his mind about the murders at that time. On the last night, during yet another argument, he grabbed a knife and first stabbed Vera, then the children, killed his mother and the dog, after which he attempted to avoid punishment by taking his own life. In this horrifying story that reveals the darkness of human relationships, we witness how irresponsibility, aggression, and misunderstanding can lead to terrible consequences. Vera and Andrei, trapped in their own problems, were unable to find common ground, ultimately leading to tragedy. This case reminds us that violence is never a solution and that communication and support within the family must be a priority. The moral of this tale is that we should be attentive to our loved ones, seek understanding, and not ignore warning signs. If you or your loved ones are going through difficult times, do not hesitate to reach out for help from professionals or to support each other. After all, happiness and safety in a family depend on mutual understanding and a willingness to engage in dialogue. In conclusion, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, where you will find even more detective stories revealed by me. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments. I value your opinion.